men, rises the ubiquitous cry. It is too simplistic, too offensive, too broad. Yet we raise few such objections when the crimes of a man with brown or black skin are immediately assumed to be related to his race or religion. To speak ill of masculinity, to describe it in its current societal iteration as something problematic, is seen as an attack on men themselves. To question why some men behave in certain ways is viewed as an assault on all men and thus unacceptable. Yet the opposite is true. Those who speak of toxic masculinity are not criticizing men, but rather defending them, describing an ideology and a system that pressures the boys and men in our societies, in our families, to conform to unrealistic, unhealthy, and unsustainable ideals. Crushing gender stereotypes are damaging to men as individuals, as well as to the society in which they live. Tackling this problem, dismantling these pressures, is a matter of life and death for our boys. They are toppling like dominoes into the chasm we leave behind when we tiptoe around and refuse to name the problem. But we don't like to offend men, so we don't mention it. We do not use the word terrorism when describing a crime of mass murder committed by a white man with the explicit intention of creating terror and spreading hatred against a specific demographic group, even though that is the definition of terrorism. If the demographic in question is women, the man is just disturbed, deranged, a lone wolf. We use language that designates him an outlier, an aberration. We do not call his online journey a radicalization, or use the word extremism to label the online communities in which he has immersed himself, though we would reach for those words in an instant when describing other similar types of crimes committed by other different types of men. We do not examine what led him to commit those acts or how he became so full of hate. The majority of men are good and kind and would never dream of committing such crimes. But that must not prevent us from recognizing that those who do are not always acting in a vacuum. And if we don't see the connections, if we don't even consider masculinity and its toxic societal construction as a factor at play in these crimes, we will never effectively police or prevent them. This doesn't mean treating all men as the enemy. Quite the opposite. It means embracing the legions of men working at the grassroots level. Male activists and educators who are throwing their all into fighting the problem. There exists a real men's movement, founded in the late 1960s to complement the booming women's liberation movement and still active today, that encompasses communities truly fighting to tackle the many legitimate problems impacting men's lives, as well as individual men fighting to defeat issues like relationship violence. It is a movement that seeks to question and dismantle toxic masculinity, realizing that it is as harmful to men as it is to women. But it is threatened and overshadowed by other hateful male movements. This is not just about women and girls. It is also a battle to protect the boys who are lost, who fall through the cracks of our society's stereotypes and straight into the arms of the communities ready to recruit them, greedy to indoctrinate them with fears of threats to their manhood, their livelihood, their country. While pretending that what threatens these boys is women or immigrants or non-white men, the real threat comes from the very forms of rigid manhood their so-called saviors are desperate to preserve and promote. Yet we'd rather stay ignorant of this misogynistic hate movement, actively grooming and radicalizing our boys, than be forced to confront it. Maybe this all sounds very extreme, rather exaggerated. Perhaps you think there might be one or two men online with wild opinions and worrying views about women, but that's just the internet. They're just sad teenagers sitting in their parents' basements, whiling away the hours in a pair of grubby underwear, clutching a bag of Doritos under one arm. They don't pose any real threat. They're more to be pitied than feared. Even the word we use to describe women-hating communities encapsulates this attitude perfectly. Beyond the occasional news report or small circle conversations within feminist activist spheres, most of us do not know about the sprawling web of groups, beliefs.